Hello everybody. In today's video, we are going to be resurrecting and testing, torture testing maybe, another uninterruptible power supply unit. It's an American Power Conversion SmartUPS 1500. I don't know how old this thing is, but it's probably early or mid-2000s vintage. We've got 4 of these in use at the TV station all over the place. This is a 5th one that's been in storage for years, and the other day I was in a place at the station that has a lot of equipment plugged in but not on a UPS, and I thought, this stuff should be on a UPS. So I got the go-ahead to procure some new batteries. These are brand new batteries we have here, and I dug this thing out of storage, and in this video we're gonna stick the new batteries in and give it a test and put a load on it, test it on battery power with the load, and see if it's hopefully all working. So this is a rack mount unit, obviously, although the rack mount ears are missing on this one. 1500 volt amp capacity. I don't know the wattage capacity, but if it's anything like my Eaton 1500 volt amp UPS that's running my desktop computer setup now that we saw in a previous video, this thing's probably rated for around 1000 watts. Here's the back of the unit. We got a singular fan, and we have some ratings down here, and it turns out the 1500 model is actually rated for 1440 volt amps or 980 watts. It's got an expansion slot where you could, or at least I think this is an expansion slot, where you could put in something like a network interface card or something. Looks like we've got I think that's a button to adjust the voltage sensitivity, how low of a voltage or how high of a voltage in an overvoltage condition it will kick on to battery power. We got a USB port, so this thing can probably work with APC's Powershoot software, which is kind of finicky software, but it's cool because you can configure these things. You can turn the beeper on or off. You can configure how sensitive it is for switching over the battery, although there's a button for that there, but maybe you can also do it in the software. You can monitor the battery state of charge. Very nice. We'll have to give that a try maybe. And we've got what I assume is a serial port, probably not an intelligent serial port. Well, possibly. If it's got a USB port, this could be an intelligent serial port, but my first guess is that it's a very simple signaling port where there's one pin that goes high for it's running on battery, another pin goes high if the battery's low, another pin goes high if the battery needs to be replaced, stuff like that. Got a circuit breaker, 6 outlets, and it says output 120 volt, 50 or 60 hertz. Is this capable of running on 50 hertz? Yes, it is. So you can actually plug it into 120 at 50 hertz, and apparently it'll function at 50 hertz. I assume that means the inverter will also run at 50 hertz. Alrighty. Let's take a look at these brand new batteries. Not often. Most of the lead acid batteries I ever get my hands on are years old, decrepit. These are brand new and apparently made by Duracell, which I've seen in pictures, but I've never seen Duracell lead acid batteries in person. Look at that. A Duracell lead acid battery. This thing takes 4 standard batteries, and what I mean by standard, the 12 volt 7.2 amp hour battery. This is like one of the most common sizes of lead acid, sealed lead acid batteries. Interesting. This is the first time I've ever seen a Duracell lead acid battery in person, and I have to wonder, does Duracell actually make lead acid batteries? Are they actually in the business? Or do they just sell their name to UASA or Johnson Controls or whoever, maybe even the lowest bidder, to stick on these batteries? I don't know. But it's nice that they're from a major brand name. You know what's funny? We bought this set of batteries from the same store that we bought the last set of batteries that we needed from them about a month ago. And the batteries we bought from them a month ago, they gave us MK branded batteries, which are a Chinese or Taiwanese brand. Apparently they're pretty good. They gave us MK branded batteries, but now just a month later, they gave us Duracell branded batteries. So not sure what's going on there. Maybe every time they order batteries, they just order whatever's on sale, or I don't know. Very weird. Date code on these is, August of 2023. So they are 6 months old. Distributed by East Penn, Canada. I don't know who that is. They are made in Vietnam. Oh my god, they're rated for up to 15 volts cycle use. For goodness sakes, don't put 15 volts on a 12 volt lead acid battery. It'll just boil the heck out of the electrolyte. Quite verbose on the back here. You usually don't see this much detail. Alright, are they all the same date code? They are all the same date code. So, we'll spin this thing back around and we'll pull out the battery tray, get a look at that. This thing actually did not have batteries in it, surprisingly. So we'll open the battery tray, make sure that's all good, and then we'll stick these batteries in. Front cover pops off like so. And here we are. APC units give you a nice little rope to tug on to unplug the battery safety connector. I'm noticing on this control panel, the two buttons are recessed. I can't even get to the off button, so I'll have to see if I can... I don't know if this just pops off. I'll have to see if I can get this off so I can see what's wrong there. 4 screws remove the battery tray, so I'll get that out. Getting the control panel off was easy. It takes 2 hands, but you just squeeze, tilt away, and it pulls out. And the circuit board had just come away from the spring clips that hold it in place somehow. Maybe this thing has been dropped. That's the only way I can think that this got pushed out. Either that or something pushed super hard on the buttons. But then you would think the buttons would be damaged. So, not sure. I did think to look at the panel, and it's got one of these little dial markers for the month. It doesn't have a dial marker for the year, but right beside the dial marker for the month, it says 07. So I'm going to guess this thing was made in 2007. That seems pretty likely. The tray just pulls right out. Eaton is not quite this nice because the batteries for the Eaton UPSs come in this plastic clamshell, and they want you to replace the entire clamshell, buy it direct from Eaton. Although you can actually open it up and replace the individual batteries. But APC is nicer because they give you this metal tray with the intention of actually replacing the individual batteries. Although some companies like UPS Battery Center, they'll actually sell you the entire tray, which I guess is good if you get one of these that doesn't have the battery tray in it. And just looking here, it all looks fine. And yeah, all the cabling's there. These APC units, the batteries are run in a 2S2P configuration, so a 24 volt system at many amps. If my 48 volt Eaton was rated for, I think, 35 amps, this thing is rated for 70 amps, which is why you get this great big honkin' connector, because there is a ton of current. Actually, this connector is only rated for 50 amps, so maybe it doesn't need any more than that. But yeah, here we go. We have these little, I don't know what these are for. This is the third of these UPSs that I've worked on, and I'm not sure why these little bracket things are here, because the batteries just sit in there. Not sure. If I decide I don't need them, I'll just leave them out, I guess. But yeah, there you go. Everything's fused. We got 60 amp fuses. So I they are probably using this, they're probably betting on this connector simply not melting down. Considering that it's rated less than the fuses are rated, they're probably just betting on it being a-okay with however much current needs to be run through it. But yeah, here you go. And actually this, oh my, this is the first time that I've put new batteries in one of these and didn't have the old batteries to go by with figuring out which connectors go to which battery. I mean, it's kind of obvious. This goes to one battery and these go to another battery. Yeah, I can figure it out. But eventually the 4 batteries will lay down in here. And it's kind of a delicate dance to make sure that you don't short anything out, because of course it's a metal tray. And you've got the terminals on top of the battery. So you just got to be careful, make sure you don't accidentally short anything out. And so I'll get the new batteries in here and then we'll come back. That's a fine looking battery tray, if I do say so myself. Takes a bit of finessing, particularly with getting the last battery in, just because it is all very crammed in here with the wires and connectors and the fuses and such. But once you've done 3 of them, it's not too bad at all. So I'm going to slide this guy in, which is definitely a two-handed job, and then we'll get to the fun part. Alright, the part that makes me nervous, just because I don't know this thing's history and it's been sitting in storage for at least a few years. We're going to plug it in. Battery pack is still disconnected. It should not turn on without the battery pack. I'm going to plug it in here and hope nothing explodes. Okay, we have negative explosion. I'm just going to hit the on button just for good measure. Nothing. So, we're going to plug in the battery pack, which makes me just as nervous, if not more nervous, than plugging it into the wall. And there we go. She's buzzing, she's hissing. Hopefully good buzzing and good hissing. It's good if something goes horribly wrong. Just grab the emergency eject rope and rip out the connector. Well, this is not normally what these do when you put new batteries in them. Although it's indicating that the batteries are low. So maybe that's why it's not doing a self-test. Maybe it is on right now. What happens if I hold the power button? Okay, definitely heard the inverter come on. These APC units, they buzz really loud when they're running on battery power. The Eatons are silent. These things, they just hum like a mother. Yeah, so it's reading low battery. Apparently 12.9 volts per battery is not enough. So I guess what we can do next, okay, so yeah, the batteries are just low according to it. Now something I want to do before we close off this video is I gotta poke the connector and see what it's charging the batteries to. Some APC UPSs, I think mostly the older ones from like the 90s, they're just not, they don't do a great job charging batteries. It's very common for them to overcharge batteries, and then the batteries only last like a year or two because of that. So yeah, we will poke the connector. I don't know if it's useful to poke it now or if I should wait till it's done charging, but we'll just make sure that it's not overcharging the battery. So I'll let it sit here for now and chew on the batteries. See if that battery meter comes up. It could take all night. I might have to leave it overnight and go to bed and trust that it doesn't explode in the night. But yeah, I'll come back when I feel like I should. It's a few hours later and it now says the battery is fully charged. I did poke the back of the connector with a multimeter. It reads 27.6 volts, which equates to 13.8 volts per battery, which is perfect. So great. So now comes the fun part. We're gonna put some loads on this thing and see how it runs. Alrighty, the fun part. I've got a 100-watt incandescent lamp plugged in. It does not register on the load meter. We'll cut the power, see how it does. There was a dip in the voltage. Okay, the alarm is enabled. The bulb dimmed quite a bit when it switched to the inverter, so it was not a very fast switch. Maybe that's normal. But seems to be running okay. Let's turn the power back on. Yeah, that was a good switch to AC power. On my overhead lights on that same switch, that's what you just saw come on and off. I'm just gonna cut power again and watch the brightness of this bulb. Yeah, it's not a perfect switch. It is not as clean. It's not as clean of a switch as the Eaton Powerware, or really as other APC UPSs I've seen. Other than that, seems to be okay. Alright, how about a 300-watt incandescent lamp? Although actually, this bulb's rated for 300 watts at 130 volts. At 120, it's rated for 260 watts, actually. The voltage today is very low. I've never seen it this low. We're only at 112 volts today. Now granted, this particular power strip is run through a series of extension cords that go over there, so there could be some voltage drop for sure. So our actual wattage right now is 232 watts, and our frequency today is spot on. And we're registering the first light on the load meter, so let's cut power and see what it does. Another imperfect transfer. This thing seems to be quite slow at transferring from AC power to battery power. We'll have to hook a computer up to this and see if it's okay, because definitely the stuff that I'm going to be plugging into this is going to be sensitive to voltage drops. The inverter is putting out higher than our wall power, which is good. We're at 119 volts. Spot on 60 hertz. And we'll turn power back on. And there we go. The light bulb visibly dimmed going from battery power to AC power. We're at 110 volts now. I wonder if the slow switching will register on the voltage measurement. Let's see. No, it didn't. Okay. Well, UPS is still working okay. Aside from that slow switching, I'll have to investigate that further. But other than that, we seem to be working just fine so far. Very loud, buzzy inverter, but that's pretty standard for these APC UPSs. Alright, I gave the batteries half an hour to charge back up. I've got a 1000 watt heater now. Now, oh interesting, with a high load the fan finally comes on. Now I'm really not looking for this thing, I'm not asking this thing to sustain a load like this for longer than 30 seconds, because that's the longest the power has ever gone out at the station. The station is in a building that has an automatic backup generator, so when the power does go out, it's usually not off for longer than 5 seconds, but the longest I've ever seen it off is like 30, if that. Wow, we've really drug down the voltage, 108 volts. The AVR has not kicked in, but we are 4 lights on the load meter. What's our real wattage? 792. Wow, there's That voltage drop really equates to a loss of power. If I turn this up to high, yeah, now we're overloaded. Oh, I didn't like that. Yeah, so we're running about 800 watts. Let's just see if this can do this for like 30 seconds, let's say. And we are on. And it kicked the voltage up quite a bit, so the wattage is up quite a bit now. And because the voltage went up and the wattage went up, we now have 5 load lights lit up. So we are fully loaded. Voltage is 117.7 volts. We're running okay, everything looks okay, sounds okay. 5 more seconds. And there you go. Handled that just fine. Well, good. Looks like this thing passes the test. I now have a junk computer connected to the UPS through USB, and I've installed APC's Powershoot Business Edition software. You can't use the Personal Edition, oh no, not on a SmartUPS, or at least on the older SmartUPSs. You have to use the Business Edition, which is a big pain in the butt, because it doesn't run as like a normal program. It runs as like a web server that you have to access through a web browser, and it's all just very dumb. And you can find lots of tech forum posts from people who try to install the Powershoot Personal Edition, and they're like, why isn't it detecting the UPS? And the answer is you have to use the Business Edition, but why can't you just use the Personal Edition? I don't know, it's all very weird. Anyway, you can see we have the status of the UPS, our listed runtime, the internal temperature, input and output voltage, frequency, and the battery state of charge. You can run diagnostics. For example, I can run a self-test. I can also run a runtime calibration. There it is. And we can configure the UPS. We can configure the low and high transfer voltages. By default, they're set to as sensitive as can be. Same for the power quality sensitivity. The defaults are all as sensitive as can be. I did disable the alarm. Just because where this is going to be, if this thing ever switched to its inverter while I'm in the room with it directing a TV show, I don't want its alarm beeping. So I've gone ahead and disabled that. You also have output load thresholds and temperature thresholds. And of course the fancy stuff, you can configure it to send an email or force your computer to shut down when it's running on battery. Lots of stuff. And this old laptop has a completely bad battery. It'll shut off as soon as it loses AC power. And I mentioned earlier, this thing seems to be slow transferring to its inverter, at least compared to my Eaton Powerware UPS, which was just super seamless. This thing, like when we were doing the test with the incandescent light bulb, I could visibly see the bulb briefly dim, suggesting that it's a bit slow transferring from AC power to the inverter. So this computer, and of course laptop power supplies have capacitors. Well, all computer power supplies have capacitors in them, and you know, a computer will stay running for a tenth or a quarter of a second after AC power is lost. So an imperfect switch from a UPS will not necessarily cause things to crash or reboot or anything. But just for a test, I have the laptop plugged into the UPS. I've also got my overhead light, which is run off a magnetic ballast, a low power factor magnetic ballast, so it's quite sensitive to changes in input voltage. That's running off the UPS as well. So I'll cut the power here. And again, the light briefly dimmed, but the computer is still running. And the light did not have to restart or anything. And there we're back on AC power. So I'm going to assume that it is all fine and dandy. Well, that's all there is to show of the APC SmartUPS 1500 from 2007. Looks like this thing's working just fine, passed all of our tests, and so it'll be going back to the TV station and installed in a new, currently unprotected location where it should do a fine job with those new Duracell batteries. So, great! This is not the last UPS related content you'll see from me. Actually, just recently I bought something on eBay for $5. I sort of let myself be convinced to do it. I bought something for $5 plus shipping, and it should be pretty fun to look at. So I'm excited for that to come. In the meantime, I'm going to leave you today with a short video I shot for my Mastodon page of yet another one of the TV station's UPSs that I had to bring home because it was having an issue, and I was quite amazed and shocked at what I found when I opened it up. So take a look at that, and I'll see you next time. So another one of our UPSs came home, this American Power Conversion SmartUPS 1400 from 2000, because it was given the replace my battery please light. And as you can see, I had to disassemble it more than you're supposed to have to for a APC UPS to remove the batteries, and that was because the two batteries, these UASA batteries, which are generally very good batteries from 2015, they are so terrifyingly bloated that they were actually stuck inside the unit, and I had to open it up and use that big screwdriver as a crowbar basically to pry them out of here. Look at how much they're bloated. Like, look how much the case is bowed out. It's actually scary. Like, I'm actually going to keep these outside of the apartment tonight. I think I'll stick them out in the hallway. Just because I'm very nervous at how unbelievably bloated these are. This one too, you can see it's all ribbed here. It's ribbed on that side. Take a look at this. Look at the cracks in the case. That's unbelievable. Why did these get so bad? Is the charging circuitry all effed up in this UPS? Did it overcharge them? One of them's at 13 volts and the other one's at 8 volts. So, and they're connected in series, so it's possible that just one battery went bad and led to both of them bloating like this? Or is it overcharging? APC UPSs sometimes overcharge batteries, or at least I know the back UPSs do. I don't know about the smart UPSs, but this is terrifying. Look at the splits in the case. Yeah, I'm just nervous just because now they've been removed from the UPS and chemical reactions are going to start taking place because they're not kept at a float voltage anymore. I'm just going to stick these outside the door for the night, and I'm not even going to touch these anymore. They're going to go right to recycling. That is terrifying. I've never seen sealed lead acid batteries this bloated. That is nuts. Got a slightly hazardous setup here with some different batteries just to verify that the charge voltage is okay. And it is okay. That's 13.65 volts per battery. Perfectly fine. So it looks like those batteries really did just catastrophically fail. My best guess is one of them shorted out, the other one got excess voltage, and both of them bloated as a result. Wow. But UPS itself is fine. Some new batteries, she'll be ready to go again 25 years on. There you go.